Better Body Foods is the creator of some fantastic products that are distributed across the world. Seriously, one of my favorite products of theirs is PB Fit. This is something I've used for years, and so this conversation held a really good personal spot in my list of conversations that I've had over the past couple weeks. Today, I'm joined by Stephen, the president, CEO, and founder of Better Body Foods, as well as the other Stephen, the CMO of Better Body Foods. The major focus of the discussion with Better Body Foods, Stephen and Stephen today, is really to pull out the story behind Better Body Foods, how they started, how they grew, and also to pull out their strategy. Better Body Foods has a very unique story and a very unique position on e-commerce and retail. They're found in a lot of major retailers across the globe, and they have a significant e-commerce presence as well. So their perspective is really worthwhile pulling out here. That being said, let's jump into this conversation with Better Body Foods. Let's talk story, let's talk strategy, let's get to it. Just to kick off the conversation, we're just going to go right into it. Thank you both, first off, for joining me. If you could, talk about who you are and your association with Better Body Foods. We already got the names down. We got Stephen and Stephen. That's really easy to remember. So how do you fit into Better Body Foods?
Great. So, well, thank you, Cameron, for having us today. My name, as you mentioned, is Stephen Richards. I'm the president and founder of Better Body Foods. Started the business in 2007. And then to my left is Stephen Kirlew, who's our chief marketing officer. And Stephen's been with us 4 or 5 years now, something in that neighborhood.
To dive straight in, honestly, I would like to start at the very beginning. Better Body Foods, very recognizable products that people love and that likely a lot of people have actually tried. But going way back to the beginning, before Better Body Foods was even a thing, where did the idea for Better Body Foods originate? How did it start?
Yeah, so I come from a family of diabetics on both sides, but I also love to cook, love to eat as a hobby. To me, cooking is a creative process, and I'll show you where the tradition came from. My wife actually, cooks at home. We had children that are no longer, with us or out of the house now. They've aged out. But when we had children, she would cook during the week. I'd be at work, but I would generally cook Sunday meals, and it was a very creative, therapeutic, cathartic process for me. So I really enjoyed that. So I had a passion for health. I have a history of some issues in our family, and then I love to cook, and so I've always had an interest in it. And I come from the business world. I have experience both in lawyering and investment banking and in management. In any event, I was introduced to a product, agave nectar, which is a low glycemic sweetener, back in 2007. And there really wasn't much information on it. And so I started in terms of recipes or how to use the product. I just knew that it was low glycemic and sweeter than sugar. And so I actually started playing around with it and seeing what I could do. And I became enamored with the product, frankly. And without knowing anything about the industry specifically, the grocery industry, or how challenging this industry can be and how competitive this industry can be, I virtually thought I could save the world with this item, and took it to market.
So it started with agave, and did you say that was in 2007?
Yes.
Ish. So when you say
actually literally in January of 2007.
Okay, so that's easy to remember. January 2007.
Yeah, January 2007.
So when you say you started and you brought it to market, things were very different in 2007 for retail, for e-commerce. Did you start with e-commerce? Did you just start going into retail? Like when you say you brought it to market, what does that mean for that period of time?
So that's a great question. As mentioned, I did not know anything about the grocery industry at that point. I just believed in the product, and literally, I had a partner, and he and I started the business really just out of our own funds. And we bought some. We couldn't get anybody to package the product for us, so we decided it was best if we bought packaging equipment ourselves. And so ended up, small semi-automatic packaging equipment, and started packaging agave. And I literally kind of just carried it around in my truck to small, independent health food stores, small cooking stores. And we're from Utah, so in and around the Utah area. And I walked into one cooking store and he said, "Hey, would you mind?" And all these little cooking stores have kitchens in them where usually Saturday mornings they'll have cooking classes. And so he asked if I'd be interested in doing a cooking class. And I said, sure. I mean, I really had never done anything like that before, but said sure. And so, that led to another, and it was a cookie store, and there were several of those, and they had a distributor, and the distributor ultimately contacted me and said, hey, I understand you're doing these cooking demonstrations, you sell agave nectar, we distribute products to these stores all over the Western United States and some, back east. And they said, would you be interested in us distributing your product? And I said, sure. So that was really my first distribution deal, and it wasn't in what I'll call traditional grocery. It was really more primarily in cooking stores. Very early on, I started doing demonstrations in Costco as well. So I really went from independent cooking stores to Costco, and then started doing more trade shows and developing other clients. We literally just started going around to independent stores trying to sell it out of the back of our truck, if you will.
Yeah.
And that was really the first year of business. Now, in the first year, we did connect with a person who was able to introduce me to Kroger. So we did get our product into Kroger early on. And like I mentioned, we got connected with Costco early on. That relationship with Costco led to, getting into Sam's. And then, we had agave in Sam's. We were doing demonstrations all over the country. And I was doing those demonstrations. I mean, we were a small country. It was me really on the road. And I probably was in 100 Sam's Clubs, from Florida to Alaska to Hawaii and everywhere in between for about a 2-year period of time. And frankly, that's, the hardest work I've ever done.
It really sounds like these early days accelerated pretty quickly, partly a lot due to how hard you were working, all the work you were putting into trade shows, kitchens, and everything with distribution. Two things. What was your biggest challenge for growth during the beginning phase where you're selling agave specifically? And also, what would you say was the biggest contributor to success during this time?
Yeah, so the contributor to success is easy. It's just hard work. It's getting up every day, putting one foot in front of another, and you just keep moving forward, and you just keep pounding the pavement. And, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And in this business, it seems like you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, just because of the nature of the business. And you just can't let that interfere, with your desire to kind of, advance the business, if you will. Mm-hmm. That's kind of number one. And I think that concept really applies to all businesses.
And I have some thoughts on that as well. I think, based on what, I've heard from Steve over the past, 5 years, I think one of the keys to success is Steve's ability to demonstrate the product, which is how we were found in order to get into the Sam's Club roadshow. Steve then traveled across the country to the 100 different locations, and that's how we achieved distribution across the country. So, and now, interestingly enough, that's come full circle. We're about to go live with Steve demonstrating on Amazon Live and through Facebook Live, etc. So, in terms of the physical demonstration, I think Steve has the ability to do that, and that's one of the keys to success: the hard work and the skill behind the demonstration of the product, which is really cool to hear. And then we're actually full circle where we're going live on Amazon, Facebook, social media, and we're actually able to distribute that to many more people through that means.
But I think if you look at the core elements, everybody always says, how did you do what you did? The truth is, I don't really know. It's sort of day by, it's sort of day by day. But I think the key thing is, hard work, kind of a belief in your product. And then third, as you grow, you've got to hire really good people that are smarter than yourself, that are more capable than yourself, that actually bring something to the table. I don't need any more of me in the organization. I need smart people like Stephen Kirlew. I need, I think what my skills are and what my strengths are. I also recognize my weaknesses. And I think a lot of times leaders in organizations don't understand what their weaknesses are, And I'll tell you, when I walk in the room with the group of people that work here at Better Body Foods, I'm not the smartest person in the room, right? I've got a bunch of very capable, smart people, and my whole job is just to bring them together and give, sense of common direction. And that's really it. And if you can do that, then I think you can build a successful organization.
Biggest challenge. What was the biggest challenge in that first phase?
I think the biggest challenge is just cracking the code with retailers, right? When you first meet people, you're a small company. They haven't heard of you. They haven't heard your brand. You got to convince them to give you a chance. You don't have IRI data. You don't have information. They just sort of have to believe in you, the product, and your commitment, and your ability to deliver. Because as you get into, big clients, Walmart, Sam's, Costco, H-E-B out of Texas, Kroger, Albertsons, and their, and all the banners that come under Kroger and Albertsons. You have to be able to deliver product and run a good business. And so it's not about, me sales and marketing, and that's an important part. It's also about logistics, right? So we have a company now of 150 employees. We got about 125,000 square feet of facility, and we have 100 employees dedicated to production and logistics and distribution. And we distribute our products now, I'm not going to say worldwide, but we have a number of different countries around the world: China, UK, UAE, Canada, Mexico, and some other, countries in various places. And logistics and ability to deliver on time is a big deal.
I'm curious to go back to the linear progression. We were talking about agave and how that was starting to spread nationwide. You were getting into a lot of different retailers. I'm very curious, at what point in time did you start to say, okay, Better Body Foods is on the map? Was that with agave, and or also was that when you started to release other types of products? When was the on the map moment for Better Body Foods?
Yeah, I actually think Kirlew can probably answer this question. I'll give him a shot, because it certainly wasn't with agave, and our next big product was coconut oil. When we really hit the map was when.
And I will go back to a point as well. I think, like, Steve is the first one to admit that he had no kind of industry experience within the CPG industry. And I think in many respects that was a positive, because he was going into the whole situation and scenario with a kind of naive positivity. And I think, a lot of people would have said, hey, don't go into this. It's too difficult to achieve success. And even if, he would have known what he knows now, he might not have got into it in the first place. But I think that level of like naive positivity at the beginning of the process is like, anything's possible. A lot of people would have just said, hey, that's not possible. So I think that is one of the keys to success as well, just pure confidence in, hey, I can achieve this. Doesn't really matter what anybody says. And I think when we really hit the map was when we launched probably PB Fit, because I think Better Body Foods is one of the most popular unknown brands in the country. Everybody seems to have one of our products in their pantry.
Is PB Fit the most popular product, you'd say?
Yeah, that's our biggest brand. I was actually testing Stephen, and you got it right. So I got smart people here. Go ahead.
So we launched PB Fit about 5 to 6 years ago, and that really kicked off, and that's really kind of got a social media frenzy behind it. People, love peanut butter. They love the fact that it is a healthy product that happens to also taste amazing, and it's very rare to get a tasty and healthy product within the same product. So that's when we really hit the map. And I think what we're trying to achieve now is actually connect the dots between the consumer in terms of, hey, we have amazing product quality, we have amazing sourcing, we have amazing certification with a stamp of approval. We're a product that really, it can be trusted within your home, for your family, for, to enhance your life through health.
I'm curious where the crossover is into e-commerce, because the conversation so far has been retail. Where does e-commerce come into play?
So let me tell you. So I was big on e-commerce years ago, even when I started the business in 2007. And, around 2008, 2009, I knew that's the direction, right? That all things were going with e-commerce. Very early on, within a couple of years, I actually got approached at a trade show in New York at the Fancy Food Show by a guy from Amazon, who basically was one or two or three people at the time that was looking to get into establishing Amazon as a food purveyor of foods, and started, wanted to start selling on Amazon. I struggled with e-commerce for years, frankly, and then I hired Stephen Kirlew, and about 5 years ago, and it was Stephen Kirlew and then another individual that we hired out of Qualtrics, Roy Sackett, who really dedicated their time and energy to developing our e-commerce business. And that's when it really took off. So Steve, I'll let you talk about the history of e-commerce, because we struggled for about 4 years. We tried to sell it on our own, off our own website. That's not what we do anymore. And then we started with e-commerce. And then, the second question is really what's going on with Walmart, and Teikametrics is probably one of the most exciting developments, frankly, since I started the business 13 years ago. And we can talk about that secondarily, but you can talk about e-commerce and how that started.
Yeah, so the e-commerce grocery purchasing has been very minimal for many years. even now it's still quite small. We've seen the acceleration of that process and progress and like transference of sales by probably 5 years. But even up to that point of kind of the end of 2019, we saw the trend and we knew that was coming in terms of more and more people were purchasing groceries online. The direct home delivery business was anywhere between 3 and 5% of the grocery industry. The pickup element of the business is anywhere between 8 and 12% of the business. And now it's significantly higher, but it's still kind of, in its infancy, so to speak. And so what we saw was it's all about an SEO type play. We did that through, images and descriptions and bullet points and meta tags and PPC and display advertising, and to achieve, number one position in each of those particular categories and search that we were in on various different platforms. So we see the main players as Amazon and Walmart.com, and there are obviously various others. But the two main players in the US are those two players, and especially Walmart, which
I'm curious. I'm curious before getting into Walmart and how things are currently in e-commerce. Where was Better Body Foods when you started getting into e-commerce? Because you already had successful operations in retail, right? So were things really, really already pretty good in retail before you started getting serious about e-commerce?
Yeah, because e-commerce was an investment. In fact, I'll be honest with you, in about 2013, I sat down and had a meeting in 2014 with the board, and we were talking about what we were doing in e-commerce, and my board was like, why are you putting any money into e-commerce? That's just not where groceries sold. And I just said, look, I just think the future's here and I want to be ahead of it. Yeah. And so, I've got a great board and some good investors, and they give me a lot of latitude, but, there was a lot of resistance, frankly. They've now come around because you do have to get to a certain volume, and way of doing business. And our e-commerce strategy, I think, is different than a lot of folks. We don't do any D2C, what they call direct to consumer. Right. So we don't sell off our website. We sell to Amazon. We treat Amazon and we treat Walmart.com just like we do the industry. We actually, ship to them, in pallets. They take our products and are responsible for selling that, because both those guys have spent millions, if not billions. I'm sure it's in the billions for both. In terms of developing their sites, their capability, their marketing as a marketplace and a place to come for all products, including ours. And so that's one area that I just don't think we're going to compete in or try to compete in. 4 years ago, you had e-commerce and you had brick and mortar, and the two didn't meet. And if your consumers can see it, I'm big on this Venn diagram concept where you have e-commerce and brick and mortar, they're moving together. Now there's a big intersection. Remember, you learned that in 8th grade math. And so that's the pickup and delivery, or OPD, what they call it. And to me, that's where I think the opportunity is, because, you can order online, you can have your groceries, you can go pick them up, and you can get them for the same price as in the store. Now, you can still have them delivered to your home for the same price too, but that's such a big money loser for a lot of folks that you sort of wonder if that business model can actually continue, or if there's going to have to make some adjustments. I don't know the answer to that. But my belief is that probably you go to a convenient location where people go pick up their stuff, is going to win the day, which is my guess.
And if you think about, I'm from the UK, I moved over here a couple of years ago, met Steve 5 years ago. The UK direct home delivery is going to win because of the concentration of the population. And, the last mile fulfillment is a lot easier fixed and solved than it is over in the United States, where it's much more widespread. And so, in the concentrated areas, direct home delivery is probably going to be the winner. And then in the more kind of spread out areas, it's going to be the grocery pickup, where people were just going to drive by the store and pick it up on the way home. And we've seen COVID accelerate that based on the fact that people had to give it a try for the first time because they were scared to go in the store, or they couldn't get out, etc. So, and we're finding that once you try it for the first time, it's a very easy process to just repeat order those products. And we found a lot of people, and the research suggests that millions of people have tried those kind of methods of purchase for the first time, and they liked it, and they're continuing to do it. So we're not going to see that kind of dissipate over time. Obviously the in-store purchase is going to come back a little bit, but it's not going to come back anywhere near as where it was kind of before 2020.
I think your perspective on Walmart is so interesting because you obviously have experienced something so far with Walmart, and you see a vision, you have a vision for the future of where it's headed. And that's why I like your perspective so much and what you're doing with your brand, because you're obviously seeing some incredible results.
Yeah, so I'm happy to talk about Walmart a little bit. We have over 30 items with Walmart, nationally in a lot of different stores. Great client, love working with them. We love working with almost all of our clients, right? They all have strengths and weaknesses. But I think the strength with Walmart is they really open the kimono to their supplier. They have a concept called Retail Link, where you can actually go into Retail Link and look at where your products are in the stores and what's going on in the sales. Other clients consider that confidential information. So you don't really have access to your own information with other clients, which I find bizarre, frankly, because there's nobody that wants my products to perform better in Walmart than me. Right? You deal with Walmart, they bring an item in. If it doesn't perform, they're happy to get somebody else to come in and replace your item. So I have a a really strong vested interest in my product performing well there. The frustration with Walmart is that, they negotiate hard on price and get the best price, and they don't charge slotting. They don't charge advertising. They just want an everyday low price. And they've done a great job in creating that environment. But the problem, that flip side of that, was you had no opportunity to really promote or develop or create awareness, right? And what I love what's going on with Walmart now is there's a bit of a shift with the internet. First, they started with Walmart.com and they ran their internet business and their brick and mortar separate. They've now consolidated that, where the buyers now are buying for the internet, and that's part of their job, as well as what's going on in the store. And as I mentioned, you have that intersection between those two, which is the online pickup and delivery component. And what's exciting to me now is, for the first time, and it really has developed over the past 6 months to a year, is that you have organizations like Teikametrics, where now you can have a partnership with Teikametrics. You can actually go in and start understanding that data, spending appropriate levels of money to help build awareness and drive sales of your product. And so you can take what I'll call affirmative action instead of just being, with Walmart, it used to be passive, frankly, right?
Yeah.
You would just kind of go and negotiate, give them your best pricing, hope the product did well. And since Walmart was Walmart, a lot of times it did do well. But now you have the ability to get a product on the shelf, great pricing, and then actually support that directly through your own efforts with a partner like Teikametrics. And that's just really developed very, very recently, right? Within the past 6 months, right. 8 months. And that's why I think the world has changed very rapidly. And I think we're in a very exciting place and a very exciting moment to really, grow the business going forward from this point.
Just one point. I think if you think about Amazon is a tech company trying to become a grocery company. And if you think about Walmart, they're a grocery company trying to become a tech company. I think Walmart will get there a lot quicker because they have the physical presence across the country, which are being used as distribution hubs. Whereas Amazon, it's much more difficult. They purchased Whole Foods, but they still haven't really done anything with that. And so I think that Walmart wins the day. They get to the ultimate end goal quicker than Amazon can do.
For let's be clear though, for food. All we're talking about is
for grocery, yeah.
For grocery, right? That's all I know. How people sell tires in the future, I have no idea. I don't think about how tires are sold, marketed, and distributed, but I do think a lot about how coconut oil is, or our oat milk, or our chia seeds, or our PB Fit. I do think about how that's sold and distributed and delivered.
So let's talk about strategy. And you're talking about the modernized approach involving Teika, involving advertising, less passive, more active. So what does that approach look like strategically for Better Body Foods entering into this really proactive nature? And that could be with Teika, it could be outside of Teika. What does that look like?
Yeah, so with Walmart, they have 4,200 stores. And as mentioned, we have 30 plus items with Walmart with 4 different buyers in different sections of the store. And not all of our items are in all 4,200 stores, right? Some are in 800, some are in 2,500, some are in 3,700. They've got very sophisticated systems to say, here are the products and here's where they should go and here's the stores where they should go. We obviously want to see growth. So just within Walmart itself, for example, with Teikametrics system, we can identify those items that are doing well, those items that we think are underperforming that should do better, that we think actually have opportunity for growth in store as well. So now what we can say is, okay, here's an item that's in 1,200 stores. And we can internally with our own brokers that we use outside of Teikametrics, but we have a broker that represents us in the brick and mortar component. We can do some analysis and say, gosh, this item should really be in 2,800 stores. So how do we convince now that buyer to expand that offering into those 2,800 stores? And it's a combination of sales support and then data. And the good news is, we can pull that data off through their own retail link system, as well as utilize Teikametrics and your software systems to identify those products that we think we can push. Now, it sounds easy. It's not. We're meeting with you guys weekly to kind of review the data, what's going on. And again, there's nobody's going to take more interest in our business than ourselves. Right. But when you have a responsive partner that you can work with, we're going to start seeing traction, and I think we're going to, identify those items where the real opportunity is, where we can build the business.
And I see it. Yeah, I think going back to, I see it as I try and simplify everything that we do here at Better Body Foods in terms of, I see it as it's all about search, and we want to become discoverable and desirable wherever anybody searches or stumbles upon any of our products, whether it's in the store, whether it's on Google, whether it's on Bing, whether it's on Amazon, Walmart.com. It's all search in my mind. They're stumbling upon our products by searching in, generally non-branded content, chia seeds or peanut butter or whatever it is. And we ultimately achieve success through becoming discoverable and having great looking content on anywhere anybody looks at and finds our product. So, people don't like to hear this, but it's all about the basics, foundational elements we build upon. And so it's all about getting great reviews. We look at the Spark program, we look at the Vine Voice program, we create a foundation there. We great images, great infographics, lifestyle images, bullet points, descriptions, meta tags. As I said, PPC, display advertising. We work all the way up the funnel to achieve number one in search and category for every one of our products on any platform that we're at through those basic principles. And we just work all the way up the funnel. And then we identify opportunities where we can actually grow and make the impact through in-store sales, so especially Walmart. And that's really kind of how we achieve that success.
Two last really quick questions, because I want to be mindful of your time. Number one, how has Teika impacted your business?
I think, the relationship is 2, 3, 4 months old now, I think, right? And so I think first it's created awareness for us, and it's identified a number of issues, and it's now permitted us to drill down. So I think at this point, given the early stage, that's kind of where we're at. And I think, from here on, we have so many items. If you had one item, it'd be really easy. But where you have 30 plus items, sort of our priorities shift a little bit based on the information we get. And so I think it's just made us aware and give us the ability and helping us sort of focus on where we need to spend appropriate money to drive what Kirlew said is, awareness and make our products discoverable. Yeah. And so I think that's where we're at with Teika right now. And I think the next step is when we actually see the business really, after we identify it and appropriate what our strategy with respect to each product should be, then I think we'll really see the business drive.
And I think they've helped with, the strategy of our business on Walmart.com, and also the analytics. The level of analytics we go into is very helpful. I love data, and we go into that on a quite deep basis every single week through the reporting that you guys provide. And also the introduction of, the merge of OPD and the .com on March the 1st was a big deal to us, and we saw a great impact and kind of massive increase in our attributable sales, which was really cool to see.
Yeah. Last question. Stephen, knowing what you know now about CPG, about the health food industry, we talked briefly about this in the beginning of the conversation, but I'm curious, knowing what you know now, if you could go back to the very beginning, would you choose to get into the same market if you had the choice to change, and why?
So knowing what I know now, let me put it this way. When I started, I was 45. So I had a lot more energy, and now that I'm 60, I could never do what I did before. I don't think I have the same energy or stamina to go stand in stores for weeks on end, for a couple of years. But I do love the business, and I do love the products we do. So I do have a passion for it. So the answer would probably be yes. Although, knowing what I know now about it, the problem is knowing what I know now. As Steve mentioned, I sort of had this naive passion to do it and didn't understand what it took, and just had this belief that I could change the world. Knowing what I know now, would I have done what I did before? And the answer to that is probably no, because I wouldn't have been naive. Right now, I've been in the business a while. I'm sophisticated. I get the challenges, and understanding how you overcome those challenges. The smarter you get, the more cautious you get, I guess. So let me put it this way. I'm glad I did what I did. I'm excited to be where we're at. I still think we have a lot of opportunity for growth, and the business is really fun. Yeah. Now, because you got a bunch of people, and it's interesting and fascinating, the dynamic changes that are happening in the industry. But to go back to day one and start gutting it out from where I was, I just don't know that I could do that again.
Yeah. That to me says a lot about, it says a lot about you. It also says a lot about the brand itself and where it comes from, how it was established, how it's changed and grown over time. Better Body Foods positioned really well in such an insane industry and such an insane market of products, CPG, health food. You're killing it over there, and I appreciate both of you taking time to be here, talking through your story, talking through your process. So thank you both so much for being here.
Great. Cameron, appreciate you and the opportunity. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Cameron.